Hello and welcome to Craft with Sarah and day 2 of the card making countdown, where I'm sharing 14 brand new card making tutorials with you over 14 days. For today's project, I've created a series of decorative border SVGs, and I'm going to show you in this video how to turn those into greetings cards. So today's video is more of a design space tutorial to show how you can combine different elements together to design your own cards. I thought it would be helpful to have that because then you can use the tricks and techniques you learned today on the other videos in this card making countdown. The first set of decorative borders included with today's download are these ones that have got one straight edge and then one kind of curvy edge. And there are 4 different designs that you can stack together to make really interesting and unique backgrounds. First, I'll show you how to create a card like this, where we're building this up to fill most of the front of the card, and then we'll look at those same borders but how the effect is different when they're stacked so that they all line up along the bottom. And I'll show you how to choose and add sentiments too, including ways to get them easier to be cut out with the Cricut. And then we'll go a little bit further and look at how we can use the Cricut pens to make custom sentiments to go on cards. This card uses one of the other decorative border designs included in today's download. This one has got the pretty edges along both sides. So on this one, I've stacked them together down the middle and then used shapes in Design Space to build up this little bit in the middle and used the pens to write out happy birthday. And if that's not enough, there's one more section too, which is on how you can turn the decorative borders into fun cut-out edge cards. So this has got that lovely pattern on both sides. This is the 3rd set of decorative borders included today. These ones have got a straight edge running down both sides. And I just love that you can put these onto the actual card design. It makes it look really unusual and extra special. And then we'll also look at how to make layered designs smaller and how to build up little sentiment rectangles like this. So there we go, we've got a lot to cover in today's video, so we'd better crack on and get started. The files for this project are free for the next 24 hours. Here's how to download them. Register a free ticket for the card making countdown at craftwithsarah.com/cards25. After registering, you'll get an email which contains a link to the schedule page for the countdown. Visit the schedule page to find and download today's files. Each download is only available for free for 24 hours after it goes live. If you've missed some, check out the Instant Access Bundle at craftwithsarah.com/cards25 bundle, which gives immediate and ongoing access to all of the files from the card making countdown, plus loads of extra bonus designs. The download comes in a zip folder. You need to unzip this before uploading the SVG files into Cricut Design Space. Once you've downloaded and unzipped the folder, it's time to get the SVG files into Cricut Design Space. As you can see, I've already loaded 2 of them, so there's just 1 more to go. To upload, go into Upload over on the left of the screen, and then Upload Image. You can then either click Browse to find the file on your computer, or drag and drop it in. Make sure you choose the unzipped version of the download folder, and within there, go into the subfolder called Cutting Machine Versions. This lists out all the different file types that are included. For Design Space, you'll want to look in the SVG files folder. And then we've got all 3 designs in there. I've got the 3rd one left, so I'll click and drag, and it looks like this. Press Continue, and then Upload, and then it will insert onto your canvas. So I've now got all 3 of my different designs to choose from. For now, I'm going to hide this one because we'll be doing this as the final part of today's tutorial. So let's hover over in the Layers panel and click the eye. And I'm also going to hide this one for now and start off by using these ones that have got the straight edge down one of the sides. There are endless ways and possibilities in which you can use these decorative borders on your cards, but I'm going to give you a few little ideas of how you can start building up designs in Cricut Design Space for this video. First, let's make a card blank. Go into Shapes and choose a square. And then you can close out of that menu. I'm going to do a landscape 5 by 7 inch card. So untick the box above the width and height, then you can change the proportions. My width will be 7 and the height will be 10, which is double 5. And I'm going to do, I think, a nice sort of cheery yellow card. If you've got a scoring wheel or a scoring stylus, add a score line to the middle of the card to make it easier to fold. Go back into shapes and choose a score line. Set it to the width of the card or the height if you're doing a portrait card. Mine's 7 inches, and I'll need to rotate mine. So in the rotate box, put 90 and hit enter on the keyboard. Drag a box that touches the base card and the score line and press align center to put the score in the middle. We then need to tell the Cricut to do the scoring on the middle of the card. For that, use the attach button at the bottom of the layers panel. And that's the base card done, real easy. When you're using these decorative borders, they've been designed so that all the pieces can overlap and you'll still see all of the pretty bits kind of poking out as you layer them up. You can either layer them up directly along the bottom so all the bottoms can line up, or you can move them a little bit apart so that you see more of the patterns. That's what I'll do for this example. I'll rotate them 90 degrees because I want them to go along the top. Now these have loaded in at 7 inches wide and my card is 7 inches, so that's great. I don't need to resize them. But of course, if you want to make smaller or bigger cards, then you can resize as you need to. But I'll stick with 7 inches. To separate out the layers, press the ungroup button at the top of the layers panel. And then at the moment they're appearing under my card. So let's click the card and go arrange center back. I'm going to build these up to have all of the patterns coming down from the top of the card, and then I'll add a sentiment along the bottom. I want to fill most of the card with the patterns. So I'm going to line them up, see what we end up with. And that would look really nice on the front of a card, building it all up with different shades of the same colour. If you want to kind of neaten it up a bit, you don't have to because obviously it won't cut in this exact same position, but you can select one of the decorative borders in the layers panel, press shift on your keyboard and then choose them all and go align left to put them in position, or to align it with the card as well, which actually would have made more sense. You could just select everything and go align left. Alright, so I want my card yellow. The blue doesn't really match with that. So instead, let's click these and I'll go for a bright yellow and then more of a sort of orange tinged yellow. And if you wanted, you could do a gradient or ombre effect and start with a really light colour and go up a bit each time. I don't know how many shades of yellow card I've actually got, so I'm going to alternate instead and build them up like that. And then all that's left is to add a sentiment to go along the bottom. You can either type one out with the text tool, or if you've got Cricut Access, look under images, or you could use any SVG that you've uploaded. So I'll go into images and I'll look for the Cricut Access ones, and let's go for thank you. Okay, I like this one. That's nice. Have another look just to see if there's anything else. Because we're cutting this from cardstock, ideally we want most of the letters to be touching, so it will cut all in one piece. You might find some don't. For example, on this one, the thank and the U are separate and the Y is separate, but this would still be fine to cut from cardstock because it's nice thick letters. We probably wouldn't choose something like, let's see, can't find an example now of one that I wouldn't pick. I mean, that one's very thin. That's designed to be done with the Cricut pen. We'll cover that later in this video. Okay, so one like this would be quite tricky because all the letters would cut separately and you'd have to glue on your little bits of cardstock one at a time. So I'm going to stick with this one, but the letters are thin, especially this bit around the heart. So I'm going to thicken it up. To do that, we can use the offset tool. I'll click into offset and then make a real thin offset, 0.05, let's try that. That's probably still a bit too thick. 0.03. There we go, and press apply. So what that's done is it's made a border around the edge of the design, but it means you end up with a thicker version of the font. So now I can delete that original one with the delete key on my keyboard, or you could have clicked the trash can up there, and then change that to a colour that matches. And now this will be much easier to cut with the Cricut because it's thicker and it'll be easier to glue. I am going to need to play about with the positioning. This is why I wanted to add the sentiment and get it all in line first before starting to cut it out, because at the moment that's overlapping a little bit too much. So we'll go up a bit. I just want to check that it will all fit before I cut it out. Could even rotate it a little bit. The nice thing about these border designs is they do overlap nicely, even if you put them with a big gap between them or a little gap between them or even no gap between them. So that is going to look really, really nice, and I'm happy with that for my first card. Press select all and group it, double click on there, and I'll put thank you card. And then let's hide it and have a look at how we can combine those same borders but with a slightly different effect. So we'll load them back in. Make another base card super quickly. We'll go shapes, choose a square. I'm going to whiz through this because I've already shown it. 7 by 10. This time I'll do a blue card. Grab a score line, 7 inches. Rotate 90 degrees, select them both, align, center, and attach. Okay, rotate 90. This time I'll keep them in the shades of blue, I think. And actually I want them the other way round, so we'll go minus 90. I'll build them up along the bottom this time, and ungroup. Oh, I just grouped them, meant to ungroup them. Okay, so this time I'm going to do them exactly one on top of the other, which will give me more space at the top of my card for adding extra embellishments. Drag a box around them all and we'll go align, align left, and align, align bottom. So you see how it still looks pretty because you can still see all of the little bits of each of the different heights poking out. And then, because 4 blues is already a lot, I don't need my base card to be a different one. We'll match that to the second one on there. Okay, back to images. This time we'll go for a birthday card. And have a look. Actually, I like that one. Nice and easy. Happy birthday. That will all cut as one piece of card. It's nice and thick. So don't need to really do anything else with that. Make it the dark blue. That's not the right blue. That blue. Now this will be a little bit hard to see against the blue of my base card. It would look nice if we use the offset feature again, but this time to make a border, a thicker border, more like a kind of backing mat. And then that can be stuck onto the card with foam squares to give it a little bit of pop. So I'll click and go offset. I want a bigger offset than I did last time, but not quite that big. Maybe 0.2. Still a bit much. 0.15. 0.12. Alright, press apply. And I'll make that my very lightest blue. Now at the minute I've got these gaps in it which I don't want. So to get rid of any gaps you can click and then press contour down the bottom of the layers panel. Press hide all contours and that will fill them in. And then that will go on top. So another super quick card made in just a couple of minutes with those decorative borders as the main feature. Drag a box and group it, and we'll call this Birthday Blue. And then these would be ready to cut out. I'll do those first and then we'll look at using some of the different styles of borders after we've stuck these two together. Give your project a save. You don't want to lose all that work you've done. I will cut them both together, so I'll turn the other one on. When you're ready to cut, press Make over on the top right, and that will separate out all the colours. You can change the paper size in the drop down here, and then you can click and drag to move things about to take up less space on your cardstock. I think it would take up less space if they were rotated this way. That's better. And then I'll have all of this space at the bottom left to use on another project another day. You'll need to change the paper size if that's what you want to do for each individual colour one at a time. When you're happy with how everything's looking, press Continue to connect to your Cricut and follow the on-screen instructions to get everything cut from your cardstock. I've now got all of the pieces of my 2 cards cut out, so it's time to put them together. I've already folded the base card down the scoreline, and I'll do the thank you card first, which is the one where all of the pieces will have a bit of distance from them so that it will cover most of the card. I'm going to start by placing the thank you roughly where I want it to go, but I'm not going to glue it yet because I still might change the positioning. But it just gives a little bit of an idea as to how far down my bottom layer can go. It can help if your card's opening up like mine is to put something heavy like a brayer tool on the bottom to hold it shut. So I reckon probably about there will be just great, and then I'll stack up all the other pieces until the very top one will be right up against that edge. The glue I'm using is Barely Art Glue, but I also like Kalal. The reason I like these 2 glues is they don't bend or wrinkle the card like some glues can do. I get both of these on Amazon here in the UK. The Barely Art Glue will be brilliant for these cards because there's lots of very tiny pieces and they've got a narrow nib on them, so it'll be easy to get the glue in everywhere I need it to go. For the Kalal, I put it into needle tip applicator bottles, which I also get on Amazon, which are little plastic bottles that have a similar needle tip to this one. But as this Barely Art Glue comes with the needle tips, it just takes out that step of having to dispense the glue. Let's turn this piece upside down and add some glue. I also like that you can squeeze this Barely Art Glue out so you just get the tiniest bit on there, which is great when you're working with narrow bits of card like this. Just trying to get a little bit of glue around all those sides. It does dry fairly quick though, so don't be too slow. Otherwise you might find the glue that you put on first has already dried. Okay. Line this up and get it straight, which we'll know because these edges will be on the left and the right of the base card. And then move on to the next one, and I'll overlap that a little bit. You could try, I've just noticed that some of my little bits haven't been poked out properly. Let's do that just with a weeding tool. You can lie the other ones up as you're going, just to check you're happy that that's all going to be in the right place. That looks good to me. So yeah, about there. So I'm going to be lining up those edges with the top of these little triangle cutouts, thereabouts. The nice thing is because it's all really abstract, you don't have to be exact. It'll look good no matter where it goes. There's that one, and then repeat the remaining 2 pieces. When you're gluing on the last one, you'll probably want to line it right up against that score line. Make sure I've not gone over the top. Oh, that is looking good. So there's my card, and all that's left is to glue my sentiment along the bottom. I think this is even more narrow than the border bits were. I'm glad I thickened it up a bit in Design Space. If it had been that original font, it would have been very hard to glue. And there's my first card with my decorative borders finished. So we'll move on to the other one. I've already glued my happy birthday onto that offset layer. And then I've got my base card, again, already folded. Just go down to get it a nice crisp fold. And then this time, I'll be gluing all 4 pieces along that very bottom line. So rather than spacing them out like this, I'll be doing them one on top of the other. Easier to know where to stick it this time, so it just goes right along the bottom of the line of card. Push down gently so you don't smush glue out, and then move on to the next largest size, which is this one. Then match the bottom line up against the bottom line of the one you've already stuck. Then repeat for the 2 remaining pieces. That's all the borders on. Then I can either glue my sentiment to the card, or, which is what I'm actually going to do, pop it out with some foam squares to give it some dimension. Foam squares such as these are great for card making, as it's an easy way to add a 3D effect to whatever it is that you're sticking on. I've got a partway opened pack here. Let's turn this over and add some foam squares to the back. As this is a big bit of card, not only will I put some around the edge, but also in the middle as well, so it'll be a nice stable stick that's flat all the way across. Then peel the tops off to reveal the stickiness underneath. I'll put this right in the middle. If you gently drop it down, it won't stick straight away. So if you're not happy with the positioning, you can pick it up and move it without damaging the card. Push down to stick. And that's card number 2, all finished. Next, let's go back to Design Space and take a look at how we can build up some of the other types of those decorative borders and build some sentiment toppers that can be done with the Cricut pens. That will then end up going on there for my finished card. Next, let's have a look at using some of the other types of border and also using the Cricut pens as well to do some drawing. So instead of cutting the sentiment, we'll draw it instead. Hide those 2, and then this time we'll do the ones that have got the sort of pretty sides. I don't know how to describe it. The shaped sides on the left and right, whereas the other ones had the straight line down one of the sides. We'll do another base card. This time I'll do a portrait card, just to mix it up a little bit. So my width will be 10 this time, and the height 7. And we'll go for purple and add a score line. Ooh, where's it gone? There it is. I'll line them in the centre and attach. And then I'll ungroup those. Okay, ooh, I need to send it to the back. And then build up these, align centre, and put them right down the middle this time. I think 4 pieces might be a little much, and I don't think I've got 4 purples. I find purple's a really hard card to buy. So I'm going to hide one of these. I think this one, you can see that coming in. I'm going to keep that one hidden and just do 3 instead. And then let's build a sentiment topper to go on the front. First, we'll find something that we can draw with the pens. Back to images, I'll stick with Happy Birthday, but this time click the filter option and then change it to draw. That will change to just images that will be done with the pens. There's lots in here. I'm going to go for this one. That would look nice on the front of the card, but we need to build up something for it to be drawn onto. This one will probably work with either a square or a circle behind it. I'm going to go for a circle because that will kind of match in with the circles on the border designs. Go into shapes, choose a circle. I'll make it white so that the pens will show up. And choose the size. Then bring my greeting to the front. Make it a little smaller so it will fit. And I want a border to go around the circle. We use the offset tool that we were using earlier. 0.15. And make this, I think, the same colour as the background. Then to get the drawing looking as you want, you can change the pen type up here. I probably will use a fine point pen, but you could also go for your gel pens, your glitter gel pens, markers, whatever you've got to use with your Cricut. So I'll go for the fine point, and it doesn't actually matter what colour you set. The Cricut doesn't know what colour pen you're putting it in, but it can just help to get it on the screen so you get an idea of what it will look like when it's all done. Then I'll click the white circle, press Shift and choose the text. Go align center to put it exactly in the middle. And then we need to attach it to tell the Cricut to do the drawing on that white circle. If you didn't attach those layers, so these two here, it will try and do the drawing just on its own, not on the circle, which isn't what we want. I feel like this needs a little bit more to make it stand out from the background. Let's see if there's any other shapes we could put underneath. I like that one. Let's go for the dark purple. Drag that down below, below that one. Make it bigger. If you find when you're clicking and dragging it doesn't let you do it because it keeps trying to do the one on top instead, you can use the arrow keys on your keyboard to move things about. It's a bit big, go a little smaller. There, so that'll just poke out underneath. And I think it's all a little big at the minute. Make it a bit smaller. And there we go, card done in just about 5 minutes, using those decorative borders and adding other elements, including the draw tool with the Cricut. I'll get this all cut out and then stick it together. Here are the bits of my card. I've already glued all of those details down the middle, and I've glued the 3 pieces of my sentiment topper. These were done with the fine line Cricut pens. To start with, I tried it using one of the metallic markers, and it didn't quite work as well. It was a little bit too thick, although I do like the metallic shine on it. It's just slightly, I think, a little bit messy where it was thick. I prefer the thinner one, but it's completely up to you with what effect you're going for. Obviously, this one does stand out a lot more. If this was on display on a mantelpiece, you'd be able to read this one from a distance, but this one, not so much. It doesn't really help that I did it in a light-coloured pen. There we go. I'm trying to get the camera to focus. If it had been done in a darker colour, it would stand out a bit more, but that just shows the effects you can get depending on the pen. And then I'll add some foam squares to the back of this. And stick it onto my card. There. That's the third card using my decorative borders finished. For one more part to this video, let's take a look at how we can turn the decorative borders into pretty cutouts along the side of the card for a side edge effect. This is a great way to use them in a slightly different way to just cutting them out from different colours like we've done here, and it gives a whole new level of intricacy and beautifulness, is that a word? If not, it should be, to your greetings cards. We're on to the final design space section for this video, and now looking at how to add the decorative borders down the side to make a custom cutout design for the front and back of the card. This time I'm using the designs that are straight on the left and the right. Click and ungroup the layers, and I'll just use the thickest one for this. So we'll delete all of those and make it the height of the card. Mine already is 7 inches. Go into shapes and choose a square and make this the size that you want your card to be. And go for 5 by 7. Change the colour to something bright so it's a bit easier to see. Then select both the layers and go align, align right, and align, align top. And then let's just move that to the back. So this is what we've done. We've perfectly aligned our border along the right and the top. We then need to cut off all of the orange that we can see in the gaps. Go into shapes and choose another square. Position that so it's about halfway into the border down on that blue piece, and then make it so it overlaps the bottom. Select that, press Shift on your keyboard and choose the orange card and press Slice. Slice will cut that black rectangle out of the orange. So if I drag the pieces apart, we've now ended up with that. We'll delete them. Drag a box around both of those and go Combine, Weld to join them into one layer. We now need to replicate this for the back of the card. Press the Duplicate button to make a copy, and then press Flip, Flip Horizontal. Drag a box around both of them and go Align and Align Top. And then we'll go and we'll press and change them to guides. This makes them to just an outline. Then click one of them, doesn't matter which one, and use your arrow keys on the keyboard to move them until they're just touching, and it can be easier to zoom in. So we're still not quite there. There's still a little gap between those two lines. I want them to just overlap. You can tell if you've got it by selecting both of them, and your width should be slightly under what your original card was. So mine is 9.99, couldn't get much closer than that, but just to show you how it works, if you do go a little bit different, I'll move them a bit closer. So as long as it's less than what your card would be sized, you're good. This is 9.98. Change them back to basic cuts, and then press Combine, Weld to join them into one layer. If you've ended up with a gap between them, that means they weren't quite close enough. If that's the case, press Undo to separate them out again, move them a bit closer, and then weld again. And then we'll make this the exact size it needs to be, 10 by 7. And then do the score line. And I'm going to do another purple card. I like purple. The score line works in exactly the same way as we've done for all the other cards. And then it's all ready for you to build up whatever details you want on the front. I'm going to add some little layers, I think, to this part with a rectangle. Drag that out to get a rough idea of what size we've got. And then make it a nice size. So we'll go 6.5 on the height. How wide is this? There we go. I wanted to also take 1/2 inch off the width so it matches. So that would be 3.343. We'll go for a dark purple. The reason I did that where I was specifically taking 1/2 inch off the width and the height is so that I end up with an even gap of the base around all those sides. Duplicate, and this time I'll take 1/4 inch off. Oh dear, my maths is not gonna my maths is not going to maths here. So I need to take 0.25 off. I'm going to get my calculator. I can't do mental maths when I'm trying to record a video. 3.093. And for this one, I'll cut it from some patterned paper. So I'll make it a real obvious colour that I know when I'm cutting it out will remind me that this one should be done with those patterns. For this one, I'm going to add more details to the front than on the other two cards, and I've chosen one of the free layered SVGs available at craftwithsarah.com to go on the front, which is this birthday flower pot design. Make it smaller, and then I'm a bit worried that my background might be quite sort of busy and detailed, so the design won't show up very well. So I'm going to use the offset tool to make a border. Click in, and then choose the very bottom layer of the layered design. Press offset and choose however big or small you want it to be. And then press apply. Check to see if it's got any little gaps in it, which this one doesn't, so I don't need to use the contour tool. But I'll change it to white, and this will just make it easier to see the layered design if it's on a particularly bright or busy background. Then at the bottom, could do with a sentiment. I think actually I'm going to make this a little bigger. Oops, select both of those. Just rotated it, didn't mean to rotate it. I want to make it bigger. Here we go. Fill up a bit more of that space. These flower pot designs are being released throughout the year, all as free designs for different occasions, and they have been specifically designed to be easy to cut at a small size to go on a card. So this is just around 4 inches tall. And a sentiment for the bottom. Let's go back and look for another birthday one, but this time I want it to be cut out. That one's nice. That sort of matches the blocky vibes of the pattern down the side. And again, that will probably blend into my background paper and not be that visible. So we'll fix that. Add some rectangles behind it. That one, and then just make it nice easy numbers so that I can work out the sizes. 3.35. Go for white behind it, and then give it an offset with straight corners. Oh, that was too much. Trying to match the width a little bit to the widths I've used on the other ones. And there we go. At the moment, this has got lots of similar colours in it, and I think we can make this a bit easier for us to cut. What I'm going to do is delete the other cards we've already made and any other bits that aren't being used, and save this again as another name so we don't overwrite those original ones. And that'll help a little bit because now it won't be showing the colours of all of those parts that we're not actually using. So that's already taken it down a lot. But we've still got some similars. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 purples at the minute. That is too many. To fix that, go into Colour Sync at the top of the Layers panel, and then you can drag similar colours onto each other. For example, these 2 purples are very similar. Drag that one onto there, and now it will change them all from 1. And again, with these 2, they're very similar. Let's put that one on there. And going to move that one into that one. What else have we got? The 2 greens do need to be different here because that's for the 2 shades in the balloon. And then obviously my lime green will be cut from the pattern paper, so that doesn't really count. We've got a white for one of the little flowers, and that can be the same white as the offsets. The 2 yellows make sense in the design. But now we should be down to, I think, just 2 shades of purple, which we are. Yeah, much easier. All right, so it's kind of worth doing that just to get your number of different colours down. And then we'll save again. I'll get this cut out and then we'll see how to put it together. Here's another look at the card all put together. I glued all the pieces of my birthday flower pot together. Even though it's so small, the Cricut still cuts it really nicely, which I love. And then I glued the happy birthday onto the white and then the purple. And I've used my foam squares to pop out the dark purple for a little bit more depth on there. And then I've got my pattern papers in the background and this beautiful cutout effect down the side. What I think I might do is recut these pieces, so my dark purple and then the other rectangle, but do that in white. And then stick that on the inside so that I've got a nice white rectangle to write on rather than the purple, which is quite dark. But I'll do that when I'm ready to send the card. And there we have it, 4 different ways that you can create greetings cards using the decorative borders from today's card making countdown project. To recap, we started off with this one where we've spaced out the designs to fill most of the front of the card. And then those same borders create a completely different effect when they're stacked exactly on top of the other, so all the lines along the bottom line up. And for this one, we played about with offset to add a border around the text so it stands out more. Then we used the Cricut pens to draw a greeting and used the decorative borders where they're pretty on both sides to go down the middle of the card. And finally, we turned the straight edge borders into this cutout effect on the edge of the card. I hope that you enjoyed making all of these cards with me today. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel for loads more card making tutorials. And don't forget to come back tomorrow for day 3 of the card making countdown. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!